These are 5 of the most comfortable shoes on the market, and as a foot and ankle specialist I'm going to break down how the cushioning, the fit and the performance of the shoe influence what you feel when you wear them. So the first shoe we're going to talk about is the Brooks Glycerin Max. It's got 45mm of cushion in the rear foot, 39mm of cushion in the forefoot, giving a 6mm difference from the back to the front of the shoe. It's got Brooks's brand new DNA tuned nitrogen-infused cushioning. So Brooks feel that this super lightweight cushion is going to change the market. The reason they believe this is because while they are able to have a huge amount of cushioning, they still feel you get a lot of energy return when you apply pressure to it. So to give you an idea, in something like the New Balance 108, which is super soft, when you apply pressure onto it, you sink right into it and it just feels like you're walking on a cloud, but it doesn't give you any spring back. We found with these, it still feels really comfortable when you apply pressure onto it, but it does give you some energy return, probably not as much as what you'll get in the Cloudmonster, and we'll touch on that later, but it's still better than some of the more softer shoes on the market. Then in terms of how it fits, it's a true to size fit, no problems with the space in the toe box, plenty of room. Unfortunately at the moment it doesn't come in a wide version. The only thing that we didn't like about it is that it doesn't have a gusseted tongue, so it can move side to side, but the lace is locked down well. There's mild to moderate amounts of cushioning on the rear foot, and it's got a moderately stiff heel counter. So this is a shoe that we'd recommend in terms of running if you wanted to do cruiser miles, longer miles, a bit more energy return than some other shoes, but not for up tempo. If you wanted to stand for long periods of time, or you wanted to walk all day, this is an excellent shoe. It's not as unstable as some other high stack shoes that we can talk about. There is some issues around if you have any history with peroneal tendonitis, posterior tibial tendonitis, because it is inherently a little bit unstable due to the amount of cushioning in it. Where it is fantastic is if you have any issues with metatarsalgia, Morton's neuroma. All that padding on the forefoot helps absorb the vibration, and it's like to make it super comfortable for you. Then next up we have the Asics Gel Kayano 31. This is one of Asics' most stable shoes on the market, and it's the most stable of all 4 shoes. It has Asics 4D guidance system, so it has a wide base of support to give you extra stability. It has sole flare where the cushioning comes out wider than the base of your foot, and it has a 4D guidance system which is essentially like a medial arch support. So while it has really plush cushioning throughout the sole, which is the cushioning that we described earlier where you sink into it, it's nice and soft, really comfortable. This piece of cushioning is a bit more resilient, so as your foot moves inward it pushes you back out, so to reduce the amount of pronation forces that you get. And then it has a bit of lateral sole flare on the forefoot, so as this pushes you back out, this resists you from going too far to bring you straight through your big toe, so it keeps your foot centered in the shoe as you move. It's got lots of room in the toe box, it's nice and spacious, it's got a real plush sock like fit on top. It comes in a wide and an extra wide, so there's some variability if you need it. The tongue is gusseted, a little bit of padding in it, and it locks down well. It's super comfy with lots of padding around the heel counter, so when you just slip in it tends to suck your foot in there. And we like the heel tab and the tongue tab to help pull on the shoe. This shoe is an excellent shoe if you're looking for a comfortable, stable shoe. You can use it for running long distances. It has some okay energy return. You can walk in it all day, you can stand on it all day. It's super soft, and probably the softest cushioning out of all 5 shoes apart from the Glycerin Max. Then we move on to another Asics, and this is the Asics Novablast 4. This is our favorite day-to-day shoe for walking, standing, and for more up-tempo, faster running. It's got 41.5mm of cushioning in the back, 33.5 in the front, giving you an 8mm drop. It's nice and responsive, so when you apply pressure to it, it tends to propulse you forward, so we really enjoyed that. It's the lightest of all 5 shoes, coming in about 258 grams for men's 9 US. It's got lots of sole flare, which gives you some added stability, so you can see the sole comes out wider than where your foot sits in the bed. It's got a nice heel bevel at the back, so it ensures a nice transition from heel to forefoot push off, whether that's walking or whether that's running. On top, it's got a relatively roomy toe box, even in the normal width. It does come in a wide version as well as the normal version. It's got a nice sock-like fit, a little bit lighter of an upper than what you get in the plush upper on the Gel Kayano. Got a nice lockdown. It's got a thin tongue and it's got moderate amounts of cushioning around the heel. It's nice and flexible on the back. That's really helpful if you've got conditions like a Haglund's deformity, which really doesn't like a rigid counter on the back. It doesn't have as many elements of stability in the midfoot as what you get in the Gel Kayano, so the Gel Kayano is probably better for conditions like posterior tibial tendonitis. This is an excellent shoe overall, and a shoe that we'd recommend for all types of faster runs and for day-to-day use. Then moving into a heavier version of the Brooks range, it's the Brooks Ghost Max 2. The original Max, they coined it as more of an orthopedic shoe. They've made it a bit more advanced than the original version, but we can see why they coined it as that. So in the back of the shoe, you've got 39mm of cushioning, and in the forefoot, you've got 33mm of cushioning, giving you a 6mm drop, which is a common trend amongst the three shoes. It's got a bit more of a stable, balanced cushioning than what you find in the Glycerin or in the Cloudmonster, so it sits somewhere in between. It feels nice and soft, but you don't sink into it too much. It has some energy return, but not a huge amount. It feels really stable on the foot, so despite having loads of cushioning in it, it's probably the most stable out of the Cloudmonster and the Glycerin, which are the Max stacked shoes. It has some nice sidewalls on the side of the shoe to keep your foot nice and stable, a little bit of sidewalls. It's got loads of room in the toe box, and it also comes in a wide and an extra wide version. Nice comfortable padded tongue, and it's got loads of padding around the heel counter, and it's relatively stiff around the heel counter, which is great for adding that extra bit of stability. This is an excellent shoe if you've got conditions around the forefoot like Morton's neuroma, if you've got issues with bunions, because you can get extra wide versions. Excellent shoe overall, super comfortable, a bit more like an orthopedic shoe. Then finally we have the On Cloudmonster 2. There's 35mm of cushioning in the back of the shoe and 29mm of cushioning in the front of the shoe. It's got On Cloud's helium cushioning throughout, so it's got a TPU plate that sits in the middle of the sole. Now that's like a carbon plate, but it's a unique design to On Cloud, and what that does is it gives rigidity and stiffness to the shoe, so it's quite hard to bend. When you walk or when you run in it, what you'll find is it's a relatively firm shoe despite all the cushioning in it. And when you run in it, it's got quite a lot of spring to it, especially at faster paces. It can really push you forward. So if you're looking for a max cushioned, comfortable shoe that you want to do faster runs in, we definitely recommend this over something like the Ghost Max 2 or the Glycerin Max. This is definitely a firmer, faster shoe. It's got a really light upper to it. It's got plenty of space and volume, so height in the toe box. It comes in a wide version as well. The only kind of downside that we didn't like about it is got an ultra thin tongue, which meant that when we locked down the laces, we could feel a little bit of pressure at the front of the ankle. Wasn't a problem for us, but some people with issues or historical issues of pain at the front of the ankle, they might not enjoy that pressure. The other thing that we didn't enjoy as much is that it's super flexible at the back of the shoe. Now, a max stack shoe should typically have some stability at the back of the shoe, and that stops your foot from sliding on top. If you have no issues with instability, rolling your ankle in the past, then this can be an excellent shoe for you if you're looking for comfortable max cushion and you want to do some faster runs. It can work as a shoe that you stand in all day or that you walk in. I think all 5 of these shoes cover that spec of standing and walking all day. However, if you have a history of instability, issues with your peroneals, issue with your tibial tendon, then probably not an ideal shoe for you. Whereas something like the Gel Kayano provides ultra stability and loads of cushioning in the heel. So if you've got any questions on any of these shoes, please leave them in the comment section. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video, we've got loads of reviews on our channel. Please subscribe and check them out.